Welcome to the Cool Instruments for Het Cats podcast and the world of creating musical sounds, where every note has a story. In this podcast, we delve into the fascinating realm of unusual and intriguing musical instruments. From the depths of history to the cutting edge of innovation, we'll explore the instruments that have, or will, push the boundaries of what we consider music. Join us on a journey of discovery as we uncover the secrets of the world's most fascinating instruments, the people who play them, and the music they create. Now here is your host, Dr. Donald Rickett.
Hi, I'm Don Rickert. I'm a musical instrument designer and luthier based in Hiawassee, Georgia, a small mountain town nestled in the northeast Georgia part of the Appalachian Mountains. This is episode 2 of the podcast, Cool Instruments for Het Cats. In this episode, we'll continue our conversation with Dr. Roger Landis about bouzoukis, Greek as well as Irish, octave mandolins, and citterns. Roger will be discussing and demonstrating some of his cool instruments today. Roger is a music historian, musicologist, and musician, and he teaches at Texas Tech University. Now, back to Roger Landis. Yes.
Okay.
So, let's take a look at some of your instruments, and I see you have one there that is, as I recall, that has a stave back on it.
Yeah, it does. This was made for me in 2011 by Herb Taylor, and I have to credit, at least partially, Peter Abnett here, because this is similar to the design that Peter Abnett used to build before he retired, and he's sadly passed on now. I had been in contact with Peter, 20 years ago about getting one. And I really, at the time, wanted an instrument that had a walnut back and sides and a cedar top. And he was cool with the cedar top, but he didn't want to use walnut. He was using rosewood. And I'm a person who doesn't like rosewood for the instruments that I play. Like, I only have one rosewood instrument. I prefer mahogany, koa, black walnut. This is myrtle, Oregon myrtle, which is a really wonderful tone wood.
Oh, yeah. It's super expensive, I found out.
Is it really?
I was thinking of using it for an instrument, and it's really expensive.
So, because I knew I wasn't going to get the woods that I wanted from Peter, I would have been glad to have one of his instruments, and someday I will probably get a used one. I proposed this to Herb Taylor, and here, let me unhook it so I can show the angle a little better. He came up with a way to build this 3-piece vaulted back that was unique to him. Herb is a pretty unique and creative builder, and so he came up with a way to build it that was, I think he borrowed some of the structural ideas, it's like he built a structural frame and then put the 3 pieces on that structural frame. And I think he got the idea from looking at how balalaikas were built.
Well, also viols were built that way for a good period of time.
Really?
The tops and the backs. And it's not, you don't notice it as much because, the arch is only,
it's a shallower arch.
1.5 centimeters. Yeah. And it looks, and then they would just, the pretty thick wood, and they would just sand out the joined parts, but the tops and the backs, often 3-piece. More the better instruments 5-piece, but
So this is Western red cedar top, maple neck, ebony fretboard, ebony headstock faceplate.
No, that has a 0 fret.
Has a 0 fret, and I had him make the 0 fret a little further from the nut to make a parking space for the capo.
Yeah, I was hoping you would talk about that. Yeah, the parking place for the capo,
the capo is part of the instrument. The Irish bouzouki, everybody who plays the Irish bouzouki uses a capo. It's part of the instrument. argument over,
Yeah.
Yeah, you might run into guitar players or mandolin players who scoff at the very idea of using a capo. And it's like, look, it retunes your open strings so you can use open strings and create the idiomatic sound of the instrument in any key you want. I can even capo this at the 12th fret. It gets a little buzzy, but it puts it up into mandolin range. So the reason why I wanted the parking space was because I tuned the instrument with the capo on it, just as if I was tuning it here. Right. And so when I move it from here to here, it's the same tension on the capo.
Yeah.
And so it reduces the tuning distortion. It's not perfect because it's not a perfect instrument, right? The perfect instrument doesn't exist, but it minimizes it. And I need to be able to move the capo while I'm playing.
I never really understood that until a prior discussion I had with you about the being able to park the capo and the fact that it's just part of the instrument.
Yeah,
because
let's say I'm accompanying a fiddler and he's playing in D minor. And he leans over and he says, I'm going to G. I can do it. And usually I do it better than that, but you have to release it so that it doesn't pull the strings one way or the other. And it's a bit of technology that works really well.
As a fiddler, I just never really appreciated what a capo can be used for. I mean, I've used capos. I mean, I've dabbled on other instruments, but
of course I could do that without using the capo at all. But that's a different sound than, right? So I like having the choice. And if, usually with Irish music, we're playing tunes in medleys. And the idea of putting a medley together is the idea that you either change key or you change mode or both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like D minor to G major or G major to A minor. D major. Right? If you want to have that ringing sound, if you want to keep that ringing sound going, you have to use the capo, right? Now, that said, I love playing in G open, But it's a different animal, a different way of thinking, right?
Yeah, I guess it's similar to the idea. Fiddlers often will have 2 or 3 fiddles in different tunings.
Yeah, especially for old time music.
But you really can't. What happens is you're just going to be out of the playing for 15, 20 seconds as you switch. Yeah. Somebody else is going to have to cover for you. You can't do it that fast.
Yeah, and I know that there are people who use like Scruggs tuners on a couple of the strings, so they can change tuning quickly.
Right.
But, if you tune 2 strings up or 2 strings down, the others go out. So you're basically going to have to retune the whole thing anyway. At least with this.
Some would say it doesn't matter on the banjo whether it's in tune or not.
This is reasonably successful, I'm playing on the 9th fret in B. It goes a little sharp on that G, so I might retune that. But the D, A, and D strings are pretty stable.
Yeah.
And if I know I'm going to go there, I might loosen the capo a little bit because the the neck gets thicker as you go up.
Yeah.
Which means the capo's tighter. So I might actually just adjust it there to minimize that tuning distortion. But for the most part, it works pretty well. Yeah. I was telling you before we started recording again that this instrument, I ordered it from Herb. The reason why I asked for the back was that I was interested in what this would do, and that's why I've been talking to Peter Abnett, because his instruments sound different. And I asked Herb, what do you think it'll do? And he said, well, I don't know, but I'd be happy to build it. So he came up with a solution for the back. And then I also asked him to do this kind of zero or minimal down pressure bridge.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. What it does is you can see that it has a round thing that the strings go under.
Yes.
And then the saddle, they go over. And this saddle is actually made of graphite, and it's in a graphite trough. And it has a pickup element sandwiched between it, which is nice. It's there's a guy, David Inky, who used to do his company was called Pick Up the World, but now he has a new company called.
Oh, I remember them. Yeah, I've used to use their preamps.
Yeah, he's got a new company now called Open to Source, I think is the name of it. So he made that pickup for me, and it goes down through the bridge, through the top, and out an output jack here, and then this one is for the neck pickup, which is a magnetic pickup that was made by Pete Mallinson of Allmuse in England, custom made for the instrument. That's very nice, different sound, and the two sound really good together. But my idea for this instrument was I play a lot of Balkan music, and I wanted an instrument that could sound convincing playing Greek music, you know. But also sound good for Irish music. And part of my compromise was to not have unisons on all pairs. I have an octave on the G, which I really like, but I have unisons on the D, A, and D. And mainly I do that for teaching, because if I'm teaching you a tune and I go, and what you hear is, like if I have the octave stringing down here, you'll hear it go back. You'll hear it go back up, and it's confusing. So that's why I don't use the octave pair on the third course on the D. If I was going to do a recording of Balkan music, I probably would put an octave on it.
Okay.
Just to be more like a Greek bouzouki, because that's a great sound, especially when you're playing the octave pair up the neck, you know. So that's the idea behind this. It's kind of a cross between hopefully a Greek sound and an Irish sound. Also, I don't like instruments that have a kind of a woofy or deep, like standing waves. I'm not personally, I'm not a big fan of guitar-bodied bouzoukis, because I think they sound more like guitars. And they have more standing waves. Also, it slows down, in my experience, it slows down the response time. And I want to super fast, you know, really fast response time, the fastest I can get. And this, you know, a smaller body across, this is 13 inches. A smaller body here is going to support a faster response time. And then I get the depth from this. But because the body is not wider, it doesn't have, you see how, I mean, it sounds kind of like a piano, right?
It does.
You know? To me, that's you know, that's really useful. It's like it's proportional bass. It's plenty loud enough, but it doesn't sound woofy or muddy, right? Now,
Not at all.
somebody might argue, well, it doesn't sound particularly rich either. And I'm like, okay, but it does what I need it to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if I wanted richer,
Definitely.
I've got instruments that will do that. It's got plenty of sustain.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it works for me. And it's a bolt-on neck. He built it so that the neck comes through a gap in the top.
Okay.
The top is braced on each side. If I took the neck off, you'd see there's a parking space here for the neck.
Sounds like he like so many of us have looked at the Taylor patent.
He may have.
And
I don't know.
That's well. I mean, Taylor kind of that was his thing, inventing the that style of neck where you could put shims on the ins.
Yeah, there is a shim in here. It's like aircraft plywood, and he grinds it to the right angle.
Right.
And you can change them. A neck set on this can take. If you want to change the neck angle on this, you can do it in about 20 minutes.
Well, that's the Taylor guitars.
Yeah.
That was his contribution. Well, along with many other things to the art of guitar making, and
well, let's see what else have I got here.